Okay, Yeshua taught primarily in parables. By the way, the Old Testament, most of the teaching is in parables as well. God says through the scriptures, I've taught you through parables all the way through. It's his favorite tool of instruction, okay? Problem with parables are that they require explanation. Because even Yeshua, when he would teach a parable, his disciples would say, what did that mean? So they were with him and they still didn't get it because it was never intended to be I shouldn't say, it wasn't intended to be completely clear just by reading yourself. You can certainly glean certain things out of these things without any help, but to get the fullness and the depth of it, it requires explanation. Now, all of us have been given. I mean, with the bubble popping and getting our attention and opening our eyes and our ears, etc., he has now made us ready to receive, and then he gives. He gives us ideas and understanding about things we were doing that we probably shouldn't be doing. So we stop doing them. Gives us understanding and ideas about things that we should be doing that we weren't doing. So we start doing them. But the question is, are you trustworthy to keep doing? Or are you trustworthy even just to do what you receive? Because a lot of you receive and don't do. Now, that's not everything. I mean, you receive and do some of it. And some things you receive and you don't do them. And if we were counseling, I could help unravel whatever it is underneath that's causing you to not do, which will always come down to either a fear or a desire that's in conflict with what he said. We have not done enough as a ministry, I think. We've done a lot, but we haven't done enough in helping you understand life prep when you're younger to be ready for life, but then when you get older, end of life prep. What do you have in terms of preparedness for the inevitable? Whether that's going to happen when you're 70 or you're 100, it doesn't matter. You should be prepared. And whatever you have and who you want to benefit from it should also be planned out. You know, we make more effort to plan out a lunch or a dinner, you know, with somebody. Hey, I want to get together with you. We're going to go out. We're going to eat. Then you plan for things like what happens when you die. I don't mean what happens when you die like spiritually. I mean like literally your plans for funerals or whatever you're planning to do and inheritances or life insurance to make sure that you're not going to be a burden to somebody with all your debt and other things that they may, we don't plan these things. And so you end up with all kinds of destructive things in your life if you're loving money. I love what having money can do for me and others. I don't love the money, okay? So if somebody had, somehow in my life I generated or I had, say, $10 million, I wouldn't be sitting there going, I love $10 million. I'd be thinking, wow, all the things I could do with this money to help people to do whatever. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not the love of the money. He says, I gave you the wealth to establish my covenant. Part of it is you living an abundant life so people can see the blessing of living that abundant life. Part of it is that you can help and bless others, okay? And so he's saying look, you're storing up your treasure here on earth. He says, you're not storing up the treasure like you should with Elohim. You've dropped the ball there. You've lost the balance. Somebody that I'm coaching through the Level Up program put down one of the goals was to have $1 billion or to be a billionaire. And I have no problem with that. My problem was, why? He had no idea. I said, then why did you pick the number? You should have a reason. I would love to be a billionaire, not because I would have so much. I don't think I'd live any different than I live now. But I have so much I could do with that. In other words, what would you do in terms of managing the wealth? What would you do with it? In other words, if you want something, you have to have a why, a reason. See, if it's just for status and saying, well, I'm a billionaire, well, now you're loving the money. Now you're having pride, ego, greed, and all that stuff play into play, or come into play, right? You can't just keep doing what you're doing and expect a different result. That's one of the definitions of crazy, all right? One of the definitions of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. When really you should always get the same result every time. To do the same thing, you do the same thing. And so he's starting to tell us here, look, you have to understand what makes you a good manager, a trustworthy manager. All right. And I like the way they call us managing, because managers, here's the funny part. You might think of as a manager, normally you think about managing people. That's not wrong. How about managing you first? And then manage the things that are yours, like your family, like your job income, like your household, like, 'cause some of you can't handle almost anything. You own a car, but you can't handle that. Okay? You own a house, but you can't handle that. You don't know how to manage the things that are yours. I don't think that he is that impressed with the number of hours you spend reading the Bible. I don't think he's that impressed with the number of hours you spend listening to teaching or the number of hours you spend on your knees. I think he's much more impressed with when you do all of these things, what do you do in your life with it? When you're interacting with people, when you have choices to make, do you make them according to what he's taught you, or do you make them according to the world or whatever, the way you used to do them? In other words, where the rubber meets the road is what impresses him. Now, you do need to study and all these other things to have the information, but you don't necessarily need to do that many hours and hours and hours of it. What's more important is when you learn, are you putting it to use? Because it's well done. It's not well studied, okay? Well listened, like we will listen to a teaching or whatever, right? Well watched. It's well done. But a lot of you can't take a view. So some, especially the ladies, you're like waiting for that guy to come in to take care of you. And I hope you find one. I do. That's not a bad thing. And guys, you should be looking to take care of as opposed to needing them to take care of you, or needing a second income from them just to make things work. However, ladies, you shouldn't need that. You should be able to take care of yourself. You may be single for a while. What if something happens to him? I'm not even talking about like divorce. What if something like a heart attack, something can happen, that you didn't expect, and now you got to take care of yourself. You should be able to take care of yourself. All right? Look, my wife can take care of herself. My wife works for the ministry. She has her own salary and everything, and she does all the children's programming and all that kind of stuff. But she's also a licensed dental hygienist, and she can go and do that anytime she wants. If anything were to happen to me, if I hadn't, no, I've got enough prepared for her so she wouldn't need to, but if she needed to, she could take care of herself. It's his plan, and it's about him. And he wants to spend forever with those that would want to be a part of his plan and be available to come excited to be a part of that plan and bring whatever you uniquely bring to that mix. But if right now you bring nothing, what's he going to see you bring later? What do you bring to the mix? And I'm not saying that means like, some of you are like 75 years old, you think, what do I bring to the mix? But I see a lot of you who are very, very available always to help in whatever way you can and other people and do things, and there is a lot you bring to the mix. So it's not just about the physical productivity, okay? But doing what you can do and doing it with the vertical right heart, right? Is where your heart is, where your treasure is. Do you want to fully embrace what this is talking about? You want from him. You want truth. You want to know. You want a relationship. You want the kingdom. You want eternity. You want all that. But he's entrusting you with things in order to get there. But are you trustworthy with what he's entrusting you? Because it says, to him who's been given much, much shall be demanded. So you want the much given, but then you don't want him to demand a lot from you. You want him to entrust you with all these wonderful insights and revelations, but then are you trustworthy to apply them in your life appropriately? Okay? He says, those who have been entrusted for much, he says, more shall be asked of them. He expects more from you if he gives you more.